Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. It is time for the daily video and we've got some good things to talk about. Remember, every day along with the daily video we have a daily wrap-up session that happens at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is about midnight London time. And that's where we kind of go over some more things, get a little more in detail about what we've talked about with the daily video, and we cover some pending orders and so on. Anyways, just want to let you guys know that. Okay, so today is a bank holiday. The markets are closed for Martin Luther King Day and for, well, not for this, but we also have the inauguration of the president today as well, or we've had it. So everything's closed, not too much is moving. We'll see how that all turns out tomorrow. Today, again, no announcements for the U.S. Something that is fairly anticipated, though, is the news we have coming up out of Japan this evening. It's always tentative, but it seems to happen around 5 or 6 p.m. Pacific, somewhere around there. And we should see some pretty good activity out of that. So let's keep an eye on the yen pairs. We're going to talk about some of those yen setups in a couple of moments as well. And then coming into tomorrow, German Zoo, that's a decent mover. Retail sales out of Canada, existing home sales out of the US, and then Draghi speaking. And then to follow that up later on in the day, we have some Australian CPI numbers. So we have some pretty good news coming out, even today being a bank holiday, and tomorrow as well, for both the US and UK sessions tomorrow also. So we should see some good activity. Okay, so we had just kind of a short UK session last night. The markets were pretty flat, and they kind of have continued to not do too much. One thing that I was looking for in our UK session, I'm actually still looking for this, is if we can get a break of the daily high. And you can see our daily high here is about 133.30. So I'm looking for a break above that high. If we get above there, I think, which is also going to be clearance of that daily pivot point as well, which the market has kind of failed off of. So we're finding some support on the 200-day moving average. We have a nice little reversal candle right there on that 200-day moving average. And then we're just kind of consolidating around this weekly pivot. So I want to get above 133.30, and I'm a buyer up into about 133.80 or so, and even potentially into the highs of 13400. But we've got to clear 133.30 before I'm buying into that. You can see, again, there's our nice little reversal candle. Everything's looking good, all looking well there. We've got a nice little kind of double top in the works here at this 13400, and it's going to be interesting to see if this holds or not. That's going to be a big question. We still have a lot of good solid support down at 132.50, and then even down at 131.50 area, which is the 200-day moving average on this 4-hour chart, and also happens to be from this larger range here, 38%. Fib. So we should see some good activity there. So let's just kind of keep our eyes on that. But for the moment, again, on some short-term trades, you can always look for these kinds of little trend line breaks. I never count these guys out, especially when we have some nice tests right there. So as we stay below that daily pivot in the 200-day moving average, we might get a little break of that trend line and watch for some trades into the lows there. There's not a lot of space, but down into about 132.80 is a potential. Otherwise, I'm looking for this break right up here of once again 133.30. So I'd really like to get a 1-hour candle opening above this to really confirm that entry. So that's what I'm looking for. Otherwise, we'll watch for just a short-term break of this trend line. Both should be, nice buy and sell opportunities on this euro dollar currently. Pound dollar actually moved okay. We had a little bit, from the UK session till now, we had a little bit of a run down there. And it moved decently well. We're staying nicely below the 200-day moving average. Everything's very bearish on this pound dollar. We had a nice little run on that one on the way down. We've seen that we had a very nice reversal candle on this weekly chart at this triple top, and it has broken the heck out of this ascending trend line. So we've got a nice breakout there, and it's run very nicely from that. Now we're running into some pretty strong support. This is the low of the last several months, and more specifically the low of November, and we're just sitting right at that, and it looks like we're not going to have too much trouble breaking that. If we go from kind of the range of this low to that high right there, we see that the fib level, so we cleared, we really kind of had a hard time with that 23%, cleared that, made a nice run, as we know, into that 38. That's a great little target right there. And then we've cleared the 38, and we just came shy of testing that 50% fib. by 15 pips or so. So testing that 50% fib is a nice little run, and there's going to be some continued support in that general area as well. So just keep an eye on that. And once again, that's about 157.90 or so. So we should see some pretty good support in that general area there. Now on to those are kind of just a couple of things to look at. On to the euro yen. We have a couple of little short-term things I'm looking at. Remember, we have some Japanese news coming out today, and that's probably going to get the markets. There could be some surprise factor in there, so let's just keep that in mind. Right now, we have a couple of trend lines that I think are worth watching. Euro yen, we have this nice little descending trend line right here. You can see that the market has very, very nicely reacted to that, and I think we're going to get some nice movement there. So just watch for break of this trend line. If we get some sort of a break, just up into that daily pivot, we have a 50 pip run, and up into those highs, we have a 115 pip run. So pretty good there. Short-term ascending trend line right here as well. Let's just watch this guy. I'm kind of looking for kind of that 119.25 area to break, and if we do, we should have a nice little run down towards that 200-day moving average, which gives us about a 100 pip move. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We've had, this euro yen has just had quite the run. It's finally getting into those overbought areas, and we're finding some resistance right there. So I'm not looking for anything big, strong, crazy, just some short-term moves, a break on this ascending trend line or descending trend line, one of these two, and we should have a nice little run, and 50 to 100 pips either way. So just watch those guys right there and be ready for that movement. We don't have any huge news for Australia. I think we have the CPI out tomorrow, which is, a decent mover. So with that CPI coming out, I'm not anticipating too much there. Here's what I think this Aussie dollar might be up to, though. We've got this little short-term ascending trend line you can see on this 4-hour chart and so on. There's going to be some good support at this 200-day moving average, and you can see that's about 104.85 or so, about 30 pips off current market price. I'd like to see a break of that level. And I think if we do get a break of that level, then we've got a nice big rundown in the works, and we've got a pretty confirmed breakout. But be careful until then. Otherwise, we've got a couple of, kind of pretty choppy movements here to keep an eye on. We're finding some major resistance at that 200-day moving average, but I think we've got a good opportunity to get a break and continue down there. I don't have any specific entry just yet on this Aussie dollar. It has stayed below our descending trend line. We've got a nice ascending trend line here. I've just shortened it right there a little bit, but nice opportunity for this to break and really head down, and I think we've got a good chance of that, so I'm keeping my eyes open there. Gold's not doing too much. Dollar Swiss franc. Now, a couple of things will depend here. If the euro dollar does make a break of this daily pivot and this 133.30 area, then I'm going to become very interested in selling the dollar Swiss franc at the break of 9,300. So we're sitting at about 93.20s. If we break 9,300, I'm a seller of the dollar Swiss franc into this trend line, into the lower pivot range. But again, I want to see that the euro dollar has broken higher. This dollar Swiss franc is kind of, it looks like it's almost working on a bit of a head and shoulders pattern. Lots of consolidation above this support. This is, or excuse me, resistance, which turned into support. This is a very nice strong level, 9,300. Broke a big trend line, and it looks like it's really having a heck of a time making a big run from there. So I'm looking for a break of 9,300 if the euro dollar breaks up. Otherwise, if euro dollar continues lower, then I may trade against this support at 9,300. It's just going to kind of, the dollar Swiss franc's a tricky one, so I want to make sure that we have some correlations between the two. So let's keep our eye on that, and I'll have more details coming out on Twitter and so on with that. And then last but not least, we had an entry order on this dollar yen that didn't get filled, ended up running down. I was looking to sell after a little bit of retracement. It has retraced now, but so far it's just kind of sitting there, and we'll look at it as we go later on today and see if we can get some nice entries out of that. So for the meantime, I think we've got some good euro dollar, pound dollar, and dollar yen activity coming up, and we should have some good trades. So best of luck, guys, and I will see you in the chat.